my name is Alondra Osuna. I usually go by Alo for short. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I was a undergraduate student at UCSD where I studied psychology and I minored in human developmental sciences. I was also a transfer student from a California community college. It's actually located here in San Diego. It's called Southwestern College. And I also studied psychology there. So I'm actually a first generation immigrant. So I moved to the United States when I was about 8 years old. I was born and raised for the first couple of years of my life in Guadalajara, Jalisco. And when I moved to the US, I had to learn English. Learning a new language when I was younger, it was pretty easy. But yeah, my childhood, I would describe it positive, just because my family has always been super supportive, especially my parents and both of my sisters. But my parents have always been super supportive, and they've always pushed us to accomplish as much as we can. My dad graduated high school. My mom didn't graduate high school. So for them, giving us a better opportunity by moving to the United States was a big sacrifice. And they knew that it was going to provide us with a better future. So I'm super grateful for my family. And I feel like I wouldn't have gotten where I am today without their support. My parents didn't really go to college. So they were never familiar with the process, but they were just always pushing us. They never told us oh, you need to get good grades, because I feel like that was already an unspoken expectation by my family. So me and my sisters, I have a younger sister and an older sister, we always just tried our best. And I feel like because my parents would reward us, not oh, physically, here's a gift, but they were just with words. They would always say oh my God, you're so smart, you have to keep going, so they were just, I don't know, always pushing us and motivating us. I feel like that's what always kept me going. And when I graduated high school, my immigration process was a bit of a mess. So I couldn't apply to universities or anything like that, just because the lawyer recommended us not to. So it was a bummer for me, because I had a 4.5 GPA in high school. And I was oh my God, everyone that has, a GPA like that, they're applying to really good universities and things like that. But, God had a better plan for me. And I actually went to Southwestern College instead, just for 2 years. And I was a dual student athlete there. I played soccer and I ran track and field. I studied psychology, like I mentioned earlier, and I had a really good experience there. I love Southwestern. I feel like it really made me grow as a person and as a student and as an athlete as well. And I had a lot of mentors there that allowed me to grow and help me in the process of transitioning to a 4-year university. So my parents were never really the ones that told me, oh, apply to a 4-year university, you can transfer, because they didn't even know that was a possibility or how the process was like. So I ended up transferring to UCSD, and it's kind of ironic because my younger sister actually went there right out of high school. So my parents were oh my God, you're going there, right? I hadn't even made my decision, but yeah, so they were kind of always just pushing us, even though they didn't have the necessary guidance to give us, but we still find a way to look for mentors and things like that. So it's kind of up to our own responsibility to be able to do these things, and obviously make them very proud. And now that they're more familiar with the process, they're oh, it's a hard process, and they understand a little bit more of it. I've lived in San Diego for the past 8 years, and I really love this city. I really wanted to establish myself in the city because I've moved a lot. Obviously growing up, I immigrated to Texas and then here. So I really wanted to just kind of settle down in one place. So I thought, UCSD is a great place to start doing that for myself. Also, it has an amazing location. Obviously, it's right by the beach. It's in La Jolla. And I think it's a really pretty campus. And I really wanted to go to a school that was going to I don't know, prepare me for my future career. Obviously, back then I didn't know what I was going to be doing, but I think I did make the right decision. And I did also get a scholarship at UCSD. So the financial factor was also an aspect that drew me to pick that school. I feel like one of the biggest transitions that transfer students go from community college and even other four-year institutions is that they have to adjust to the quarter system. So for me, at Southwestern, I was very used to the semester system, which is usually 16 weeks long. So, that's feel like that was the biggest difference because at UCSD, the courses are only 10 weeks long. So it was going to be a lot more fast paced. So it was something that I really had to get adjusted to and give myself time to be able to do that. And it actually took me like around a quarter to really get the hang of it. And when I first was transitioning, like a lot of transfer students go through transfer shock and imposter syndrome just because I believe it's just a transition of like the new culture, the faster paced environment. I just felt like, oh my God, am I going to be able to be successful at this school? Like it's really hard. And, it was just the first quarter that I really felt like that. And then after that, like I did really well. So I feel like it's just a transition that I had to get used to and like really allowing myself to like find a community on campus just because like at Southwestern I was super involved. Like I knew a lot of people, and at UCSD I was like, oh my God, I'm by myself in the middle of a pandemic. Like how am I gonna find like my people and like people I feel like comfortable with? So after like giving myself time and like, putting the effort to make connections and network on campus, I feel like I had, a fairly good transition. And it was just like really getting adjusted to the quarter system. I actually got involved at the Trident Transfer Hub, which is a transfer resource center. And I actually worked as a transfer success peer coach. So I got to meet one-on-one with a lot of transfer students, and I would kind of help them with any questions they had, and I would guide them to the right department. And the way I like to describe the transfer hub is basically like a guide for transfer students, because we're not trained on advising. A lot of students think they can just come and like, oh, ask us questions, but really we're just here. So if they're like, oh, I need help finding a class, like, how do I do that? And I will tell them, okay, well, first step is to direct you to an advisor. And like, this is how you're going to be able to meet with them. And basically, we just help transfer students in their transition to UC San Diego. I also was part of Tau Sigma, which is an honor society for transfer students at UCSD. And I was involved in the committee itself. So I was a first year transfer representative. So my role was to kind of just speak on my transfer experience and like just hear other transfer students' experiences and trying to like try to help them if they had any questions or like make them feel like comfortable and at home, and like by sharing like some interests and like similarities that transfer students go through. So I actually transferred over as a BS psychology major, but I decided to change it to a BA once I completed my first year, and I decided to pick up a minor instead. So I picked up a minor in human development, and I chose that minor just because I knew it was very interdisciplinary, so it would study different areas, and I thought it would be really good for my future career because I wanted to become a community college counselor. So like, you know what, it's going to be good to learn something outside of psychology. I had a really good time actually like taking my psychology classes in human development. I feel like I got to connect a lot with the professors and just learn about different fields and learn different research that they would study. And I think like it made it very easy for me to learn just because I was so interested in it. So I didn't really have like a hard time like learning material or anything like that. I actually was able to graduate with honors this past spring. So I think it was just due to like my interest in the field and not just 'cause, like, oh, like I'm just smart. No, like I feel like because I really liked learning about it, that it came easy. I would advise students to be easy, like to like take it easy and like give themselves time to grow. Because I know like a lot of transfer students usually come in and, try to do everything just because we have like, the common amount of time is 2 years, but a lot of transfer students do 3 as well. So they try to rush everything. But I would really like recommend like focusing on their mental health and allowing them to settle into a university, and even students that go there right out of high school, um, just to like be easy and like not stress themselves out too much just because like, oh my God, I need to do this, I need to get involved, I need to like get this done. Like obviously still like prioritize your academics, but like also prioritize yourself and like try to find your own interests, what you like, you know, meet a lot of friends, explore San Diego, explore campus. Yeah, basically just remember like even though they're student first, they're also people. They're their own person. So like they need to grow outside of their academics. I actually will be attending grad school at San Diego State to complete a Master of Arts in Education that concentrates in counseling. And with that, like my future career or like my ideal career will be to become a community college counselor. And I really want to do that because, you know, being a community college student, I really want to go back and be able to help students because I feel like the community college system lacks a lot of guidance, especially for student athletes. So that's something I really want to go back and do and be able to help the students and help them in their transition as they transfer out to play sports at other schools or even just for their academics. The way I like to see it is that a lot of times students will have like a certain goal and like they will try to follow it, but like there's a lot of times like you know life happens and they're not able to do it. And I don't take that as a like, oh my god, like you know it wasn't for me. I just take that as a sign that there's better things out there. And like for me, when that first happened, I was really upset and like you know very sad. But now that I attended community college and was able to get like a full ride academic scholarship to UCSD, like I know like, oh, now that I look back in time, like it was worth it. And like the plan that, you know, God had for myself was better than the one I had initially. So I feel like it's really going to help me like help other students because like, you know, there's a lot of things out there, not just like, just because you have a plan doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to be the one you follow because there's so many things out there that you might not even be aware of. So just being like, keeping an open mind and being welcoming to other plans and other ideas, I feel like is very important.